if you wanted to argue, well, there's the Kyler Murrays of the world that could have gone away for baseball for 5 years and come back like a Brandon Weeden, okay, but he wasn't 34 years old transitioning to a brand new position. This is a joke. This is akin to bringing in Garth Brooks to your spring training and assuming he's going to compete for the shortstop spot. It is all about a favor, a friendship, a boost in your revenue or your fan attendance or what have you. It's all about that, and it's not about the football. Because I would ask Urban Meyer honestly this. If he's not Tim Tebow, does he get this roster spot? And the answer is obviously no. Again, if you just looked at these are in a vacuum without a name attached to them, without some type of legacy attached, friendship attached, name attached. 34, hasn't played the sport in 6 years, has never played the position. You would never bring in that guy, ever. Now, if the Jaguars are simply doing this, almost as a make good, that once upon a time when Tebow was actually in football shape, they wanted to bring him in and they didn't bring him in, or they realized it would have been great for the fan base, and they're trying to kind of start anew, and they've got Trevor Lawrence, and they've got Urban Meyer, and now they bring in Tim Tebow to kind of make things kind of interesting in training camp and to draw some local attention and to, foster some type of bond with a fan base that likes Tebow. I mean, okay, then it's just marketing. And I can get behind just marketing. If you just think that this is a nice, fun story, but that Tim Tebow is ultimately not going to be on the football field, I mean, it's just marketing then. Because it's not about football. Imagine being a tight end who's in his mid-20s right now, and you were a 4 or 5 star recruit coming out of high school. You went to a good college. You were really good in college. You've been crushing it, working out. You understand the position. You're a committed blocker, so willing to do the little things, not just the glory of catching passes. You're keeping yourself in phenomenal shape, and you're killing yourself just for a tryout, and you're about 24 years old. And then you watch Tim Tebow get this job. You'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? Here's the thing. I couldn't sit here and tell you who the best practice squad tight end is at the NFL. But to me, that guy deserves this job, this opportunity. The best guy that's not on an NFL roster who has played tight end and who's in his 20s at the peak of his physical prowess, that guy deserves this roster spot. Not Tim Tebow. And I'm not even going to get into this kind of really bizarre, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, bizarre dynamic that has always followed Tim Tebow for the people that believe Tim Tebow was something that he wasn't. I'm not even going to get into that because that whole part of it I can't even explain. That everywhere that Tebow went, people assumed he was just going to be better than he was. You got to draft Tim Tebow. You got to sign Tim Tebow. You got to give Tim Tebow playing time. Was always just bonkers to me because normally savvy, reasonable sports people would make this leap based on nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like Tim Tebow was a starting quarterback in the NFL for the better part of a season, and the team that he started for didn't want him, and 31 other teams didn't want him really to play quarterback. But somehow it was, but he's just not getting his shot. There's GMs, there's coaches that are desperate to win at all costs, no matter what. I'll bring in a domestic abuser. I'll bring in a criminal. I'll bring in a guy that I hate. I'll bring in a drug user. I'll bring in anything to win. But some people wanted to believe, well, Tebow's not getting a fair shot, even though 32 football teams said, you're not really good at this job. Then he goes to baseball, and people just assume, well, you got to sign Tim Tebow. He's going to be in the majors. I mean, he's Tim Tebow. You're like, well, what are you basing that on? And then he knocks around minor leagues for 4 or 5 years, and then he comes out and he's like, okay, now I want to play tight end again. And people are like, yeah, well, should get a tryout. Based on what? There's always been this thing about Tebow where he's handsome, he's well-spoken, he's pleasant, and he inspires people with his words, and he was a great college quarterback. And that has led people to lose their minds about what the reality of Tim Tebow is. Every year, there's great college quarterbacks that stink in the NFL. There's plenty of Heisman Trophy quarterbacks that stunk in the NFL. There's plenty of guys that set all types of records and won national championships at quarterback in college that stunk in the NFL. The David Klinglers of the world, the Andre Wares of the world, the Troy Smiths of the world. I mean, there's plenty of these guys. And nobody ever is like, you got to give that guy a chance. But for Tebow, for some reason, it was, oh, man, he's definitely a winner. So now, at 34 years old, he's never played the position. He hasn't played football in 5 or 6 years. He gets an NFL roster spot. Like, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the Jaguars. It's embarrassing for Urban Meyer. Am I going to go so far as to say Urban Meyer is going to lose the locker room? No. No. Do I think suddenly a bunch of paid professionals go, I'm never going to play hard for Urban Meyer because, he brought in his friend? No, I don't believe that. I don't believe it's that toxic. That is a bridge too far. It's just embarrassing. It's frankly embarrassing because he doesn't have the resume to do this. If his name wasn't Tim Tebow, he would never get this spot, which makes it embarrassing. And it's to the same degree, the Mets signing him to a minor league deal. If his name wasn't Tim Tebow, there's no way that a guy that hadn't played the sport in 9 years gets signed by the Mets and has a roster spot in Double-A. But it was a favor to his agent, and it probably was partially good press and also was good for the gate at these minor league stadiums because, look, I've talked about my love affair with minor league baseball. I get it. There's a show part of minor league baseball. There's a show to everything, okay? And I know part of this is a show. Part of this is not a library of information. This needs to be entertaining to make sure we make money and you stay locked into this show. And that's sports as well. So minor league baseball, you go, and it's hot dog cannons, and it's, crazy games, and it's funny mascots, and it's, hey, Tim Tebow's in the lineup tonight. And that brings people in. So I didn't begrudge the Mets for that. I don't begrudge people for leveraging Tebow's celebrity to sell tickets. But this is about an NFL team's roster spot. This is about winning football games. This is about, there's only, 53 guys in a roster that includes the practice squad, 45 of the active roster? I mean, that's not where you start doing things for marketing. That's where you do things because you got to win football games. And for Tebow, if this is just one of the roster spots in training camp to get some attention, okay, then it is what it is. And it's a wasted roster spot just for attention. But if you're doing this for football purposes, how is it possible 34-year-old Tim Tebow, who's never played the position before, is a better option at that position than a 24-year-old guy that has played the position his entire career? How could that be possible? Because Tim Tebow's an athlete? I mean, there's got to be a 24-year-old version of tight end that doesn't have a job somewhere that has better hands than a guy that's never caught passes competitively. Right? There's got to be a guy that's played the position who at 24 years old has a much better odds of staying healthy, right, than a 34-year-old. And even if Tim Tebow's in great athletic shape, he is 34. Why? What is this about? I was absolutely banging the drum for the Jaguars to hire Urban Meyer. I thought it was a smart hire. I still think it's a smart hire. This is just making him look dopey. It's making him and the Jaguars look cheap. You know, and frankly, if you ever want to sell me on this bit that he didn't get enough chances and blah, 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 that whole nonsense, he was on the Patriots. If Belichick could have found any way to squeeze anything valuable out of him, he would have. He's Bill Belichick. If Tim Tebow could run one play, and do it well, he would have made the team. One play. He couldn't. Even the Patriots gave up on him. And now suddenly he's going to just turn into a valuable tight end? I mean, come on. And look, I'll eat my hat in September if he makes that Week 1 team. But it's like, why can't Tim Tebow just become an inspirational, motivational speaker, a broadcaster, and that's it? That's good. That's really good. He can do tons of philanthropic work. He can work with kids. He can work with charities. He can work overseas. He can be a motivational speaker. He can be a broadcaster. He's really good at those things. Why do we try to expect him to be good at things that he's not also good at? He wasn't a good baseball player. He wasn't a good NFL quarterback. And I got a hard time believing at 34 years old he's suddenly going to become a good tight end. Why can't he just be good at the things he's really good at? And this whole thing about, you can't take away somebody else's dream. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, don't tell other people what they can or can't do. But just in terms of this spectacle, it's stupid. It's stupid because we wouldn't accept this with anybody else. Nobody. Oh, college quarterback from a decade ago wants to become a tight end after never playing the position and hasn't played football in 6 years. Yeah, okay, cool. Sign me up. Where can we do that? It just would never happen. So it cheapens the Jaguars.